Welcome back. If you have yet to watch part one and the intro to this lecture series on the Intergalactic Federation, I want you to go ahead, go to my office profile, look through the videos. I have titled each of them, go to the intro and then go to part one, and then now you can come to part two. However, if you're sneak peeking, I just want to go ahead and let you know we are going to be discussing what the actual Intergalactic Federation is, where it came from, what things around the society that we're living in, who's talking about it, how are they talking about it, all of the details before I start talking to you guys about the technology that's possible right now that could be the reason why we believe that all of this could be true. So pause, and if you have yet to, go watch the intro in part one, then come back for part two of this discussion. The Intergalactic Federation is so popular in science fiction. It depicts a coalition of civilizations in the cosmos and galaxies that are coming together for mutual benefit, peace, and exploration. Kind of like a United Nations, but on the cosmic scale. I'm going to basically use this conversation as a means to explore what the Intergalactic Federation is and introduce to you this topic in a more scientific way, because I know a lot of people love to talk about the Intergalactic Federation through UFO lore, but I think it's interesting to explore that. At the same time, it's also just interesting to explore all the places where the Galactic Federation comes into play. To begin, there are some very famous examples of the Intergalactic Federation. One of them being Star Trek. Their Intergalactic Federation name was the United Federation of Planets. It's one of the most popular intergalactic federations, and I believe that it makes it different because Earth was included in this particular intergalactic federation. The second popular rendition of the Intergalactic Federation is in the Mass Effect series. The name of that intergalactic federation was the Citadel Council. This federation was more concerned with diplomacy, trades, and defending people against things like the Reapers in that series. And the other very popular series is Stargate, which their federation was called the Galactic Asgard Alliance. This particular one, I think, really took off because it was more of a heroic federation. They were more concerned with protecting less advanced civilizations from their known enemies, the Goa'ulds. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So let's dive into the conspiracy theory and the UFO lore side of the Galactic Federation. And just a reminder, in this lecture, I'm going to be interchanging Intergalactic Federation and Galactic Federation. It's the same thing. I just feel like saying it over and over again. I mean, count how many times I've said it already. So I might even go as far as to call it IGF so that it just makes it shorter and easier to talk about. The reason why the IGF is really popular, especially in UFO lore, is because whenever we're talking about extraterrestrial civilizations, we all believe and kind of take on this idea that they're smarter than us. And we're going to explore that in some theories, but I just want to go ahead and say the reason why this is so interesting is that we never really conceptualize the IGF as dumber than our civilization. If anything, we only think of them as smarter than our civilization, which brings to question another paradox that we'll explore later. Former Israeli space security chief Haim Ishad made headlines in 2020. Sorry, Haim, I don't know if I said your name right. But I know for a fact that in 2020 he made headlines because he was saying that governments were already in contact with IGF. However, they were not going to reveal that they were known or that they have been made because they didn't want to cause public panic. Public meaning us, the civilians outside of the government. With this in mind, that headline was made and it made the Galactic Federation seem very benevolent. Like they wanted to protect us, they wanted to get to know us. We were a lesser civilization. They wanted to basically bridge the gap between the cosmos and our planet. And I think that is very interesting because not only are we seeing them as good, but we're also seeing them as helpful. And that could change things if we already are in contact with them. We have whistleblowers and people who said they've made contact with IGF. They talk about their stories all the time. Do we want to believe them? It's up to you. But I want to present the fact that this is technically also just pseudoscience, and a lot of scientists have said that this is just imaginative storytelling because there is no scientific evidence that the IGF exists. Mind you, we don't have all the documentation that the government has. We don't have the connections that a lot of these officials in higher positions have. So we don't truly know the truth because we've already even seen there's a lot of things that are concealed to the public, so we don't even know. However, I do want to go ahead and explain some theories that might really assist us with our reasoning on whether we want to believe this exists or not. So there is this paradox called the Fermi paradox, and it basically states, if intelligent life is common in the universe, why haven't we detected it? And I think that's an important question to pose because not only do we want to believe that we're smart, at least on Earth, we're the smartest civilization. However, it would be interesting to think that we're the only smart civilization in existence in the cosmos. And if you know anything about space, it's a lot. There's a lot there. There's a lot going on up there. And I actually want to deconstruct because there's two theories going around right now among popular media and pop culture. People have been exploring that there are two different spaces. There's a space and there's a space. And I will go into that in another video when we talk about the technology behind that. But there's two different concepts of space. The space I'm talking about, and in this course we're going to be talking about as the space, is space in the air. Space, rocket ship space, okay? Satellite space, the firmament, up there space, that space, everything up there, okay? So the Fermi paradox is really important to just think about because if we are the only intelligent beings in the world or in the universe, is that okay? Are we good? Are we okay? Are we good? You know, it's just like, is this how we've done it? The best way to do it? And if so, like, if we really are the only intelligent people, what does that mean about? It just thinks like, you hope we're not the most intelligent, you know? But at the same time, we might be. And that is something that we have to grapple with together because I personally hope we're not the smartest. Technically, I really hope we're not the smartest. Reason being because have you seen what's going on? Anyway. However, I don't fully disagree with this paradox because it might be that we are the smartest right now. We might not have been in contact with anybody from another cosmos, another universe, because of the fact that we aren't as smart as them. So there is this other side to the Fermi paradox where we could be the most intelligent, but also the most intelligent, way more intelligent than us, probably wouldn't even be in contact with us because we're just not smart to them. And who wants to be around dummies in the cosmos, you know? And I think that is where the Fermi paradox to me stands. It's not about are we the most intelligent, it's if we're the most intelligent, or are we just the most intelligent for now and they're just avoiding us because we're not that intelligent. There's also this thing called the Kardashev scale. The Kardashev scale was coined by Nikolai Kardashev in 1964 and basically just states that certain civilizations are on a certain scale, type 1, type 2, type 3, and usually type 2 and type 3, which Earth isn't a part of that, or be able to harness the energies of stars and galaxies better than anybody. And because they would be able to harness that energy better, their technology would be better, their knowledge would be better, and in turn they could exchange information and unity in the cosmos through the Intergalactic Federation. So they're kind of on the same level to not only compete but play and unify. So we have a lot of diplomacy going on in the Earth today. You see certain countries visiting each other, the leaders visiting each other. You see people sending aid to one country, another country sending aid to another country. Basically, this diplomacy is to keep the peace, unify the nations. However, if you think of IGF on a larger scale, it's just doing that, but in the cosmos, and Earth would be included in that. we obviously would need one person. I have a feeling that all of this like need for grabs of power is to formalize that one world order that everyone's been talking about recently, but that's just my personal guess. And I do think that interstellar diplomacy is going to be so different because not only will we be exchanging knowledge and information, because as you meet civilizations that are smarter than you, you're probably going to figure out things and implement things. But at the same time, I think there's going to be just this level of like decency again, because I just don't think the way that Earth has done diplomacy is going to be the same as the way interstellar diplomacy is going to be. It might actually be worse, but that's, I think, not what I want to think about. I more want to think about it where we're exchanging resources, we're exchanging information. Not only information, we're just also helping one another to resolve conflicts, which I think is so important. So I definitely would love to explore that a little bit more. I keep thinking about it, like how that would look, what it would look like, and if you have like thoughts on that, please comment them. But let's move on to the next part of this lecture. So while we know there's no scientific evidence of intelligent extraterrestrial life, I still want you to come up with what you think about this topic in all. And so far, you probably already formulated your own thought process on it. You already have your own beliefs on it. But it does pose some interesting questions, right? Like, that's why it's so interesting to me, especially as a woman of science. Like, are we truly alone in the cosmos? And if so, what on earth? Like, an anomaly of anomalies. Like, there's so much real estate up in space. We're the only ones? Or like, I don't think y'all get it. Like, I remember there was a time when Google Earth went so far as to zoom out into the Milky Way. You could see the Milky Way on Google Earth. They don't do that anymore. They ended up stopping doing that. I can't remember why they did that. I think because too many people were like using the images for I'm sure some online stunts and stuff. But they stopped doing that. But I remember we used to zoom out. We used to look at the Milky Way. If you've seen space the way I've seen space at a planetary museum, oh my gosh, in the dome, you know the dome at a planetary museum, y'all, space is huge. Are we alone? That's question number one. The second question I want to pose is, if we are alone, then maybe we should also be thinking about interstellar travel and, more importantly, interstellar communication. And how possible is that? Do we have any technology now that can make that possible? And I have done some research. I have dug in a little bit. I still have a few more findings to look at and kind of analyze deeply and just find more connections, because one thing about me, I don't really like to piece things together that don't seem like, yes, this might be evidence, yes, this might be evidence, but I need them to kind of connect. So I'm looking for connection points on tech that could align well with our case that the IGF might actually be a real thing, and that extraterrestrial life might actually be out there. And not only out there, but watching us. But the only thing I need you to know as of right now is interstellar communication, which is this is what I'm really more concerned with, the communication part. Because there is this whole thing where, oh, they're watching us and they know about us, they know our every move, that's why they're not here yet, they don't want to, that's why they know everything about us, because there is this knowing, like when they get here, they're going to know everything about us. There is also, they could not, but for our case, we're going to act as if they already know about us and they know everything about us and they've been watching us. By they, I mean extraterrestrial life that's more intelligent than us, because I'm sure, yeah, still. So yeah, based on that, I think of a third question and I want to pose it with you guys. There is that Fermi paradox that keeps coming back. And if we're the only intelligent life, which also goes back to, are we alone? But for this for this course, we're not the only intelligent life, okay? I personally think it would help our case if we didn't believe that we were the only intelligent life. But if that's the case, what is humanity's role in all of this? If the Intergalactic Federation exists and the Earth could be a part of it, would we be a part of it? And if we were a part of it, what contributions could we make? And based on the Fermi paradox, if we aren't the only intelligent beings in the cosmos, then maybe what we need to be asking is, what are they waiting for in order to make contact with us? And I think one thing that we can kind of collect and talk about is they're waiting for us to get to a point of intelligence that mirrors closely with theirs. So basically just waiting, can they hit that IQ a little bit higher so that we can at least, play. At least they're a little competitive. And I think that is where we're at, because imagine knowing something that could transform the lives of a whole entire civilization. I think what might be scarier is once you give them that notion that it's possible, they're going to basically be cheating their way into being a more intelligent civilization and leaving you with a competitor as opposed to someone who could be an ally. And maybe that's why they haven't been in contact with us. The Intergalactic Federation is a mind-boggling topic, and I hope you've genuinely enjoyed getting to know more about it just from this lecture. However, because there's no scientific evidence about it, I personally am going to let you know, I don't want you to believe it's true. You don't have to. There's no evidence to back it up. However, I want you, if you're interested and down for the ride, to journey with me in this thought experiment. And we're just going to explore some things and see if we can make connections and possibly unravel some things in tech that could make this a possibility. And based on what we've talked about today, just think about it. We're always in some sort of space race. We're in a technological advancement race. We have people spending billions of dollars on defense contracts, and we have technology that doesn't even need to be for consumer level. And is it really just for the nations to battle or to compete against each other? Are they actually thinking bigger and possibly thinking cosmically about the issue at hand? I don't know. And that's something that I think about often. Maybe all of this advancement is because a lot of the scientists and the people who are smart and have big brains and put all their money together to make a lot of the advancements that we have today, maybe they are in the know for something greater than just what's on Earth. And I know that I mentioned earlier, there's 2 theories for space. I wanted to go ahead and just let you know, clarify that, because I have a feeling somebody's probably thinking, what the other space? So there is this theory that the firmament, it stops at the firmament, that the satellites, they've never really reached space. A lot of people say that. I personally, I'm too much of a woman in science to believe that's true. I don't care what nobody say. I don't think CGI was on the moon. I don't think any of that. I would have to see solid evidence, and solid proof that it's CGI and all of that. I don't believe for one second they didn't actually make it to the moon. I think they made it to the moon. I do think they made it to the moon. They made it to the moon. In this course, they made it to the moon. I don't care what y'all think outside, okay? In this course, they made it to the moon. It's going to help the case. But there is another space people have been talking about recently. They've been saying the ocean is space. Now, I will just touch on this really lightly because I think it's important, especially talking about the Intergalactic Federation. I think it's important to just bring another crazy, mind-boggling thing. So if they don't believe in up their space, they believe in the creation story. They believe ocean is space because the ocean is the least explored and it's on our planet. And the earth is made of, I believe the number is 70-something% water. And that means that there's just a lot of uncharted territory. And I think that began coming up around the time of the if you remember that submarine that went, and they were talking about this business tycoon or this billionaire who was in that submarine ended up crashing, and they never made it out. They never made it out of that submarine. That was a research submarine. They were like showing them some new technology, something like that, and then they wanted to also show them the Titanic. I think that was why they went down there. Everyone thought it was crazy. However, I'll leave you with this. Whatever you want to believe, the case we need to make in this course for this series of discussion is that the Intergalactic Federation is possible. I will be breaking down to you the technology that we have today that could possibly help us make a case that this is a real thing, and we just don't know about it yet. I am digging into the space is ocean theory. However, I'll only touch on it in our next lecture for this series, because I did find something pretty interesting and I wanted to share it with you because I was interested in that side. I didn't go into it too much because I do still want to explore the space side of things, my version of space, this course's version of space. So without further ado, I'm Professor Laura, and this is TT1S. I will see you in Lecture 8, Part 3 of the Intergalactic Federation discussion.